Well, this morning we have with us our mayor of Newell, and it's Ken Wetz, and we're so happy that you're with us, Ken. Such a privilege to sit here and visit with you. You've got a lot of interesting stories, and I love stories. But I'd like to take a moment and let you tell us a little bit about yourself and how long you've been in the Newell area, and just what brought you here today.
Yeah, well, I'm married to my high school sweetheart.
Awesome.
And we have been living in Newell since 1978, I think it was. And we have 6 children and 14 grandchildren. So we have a big family. We enjoy our kids and our grandkids a lot. We even have a great-grandson now.
Congratulations.
So,
yeah.
We're happy about that, and we love our family and our kids.
Yeah.
We lived in Vail. We grew up in Vail, went to Vail High School until it closed. My wife was the last graduating class from Vail.
Okay.
The scary thing about that is when we go to a class reunion, we're the youngest ones there now. Everybody else is older. So.
Yeah.
But we lived in Vail until the late 70s, and then we built our house here in Newell and have lived here since.
Mm-hmm.
And I sheared sheep when I was in college. I started shearing sheep because my dad ran a sheep shearing crew in this area for many years, and he liked to work hard, and so he taught his kids to work hard.
Yes.
And so when my brother and I were about 14 years old, we would start out younger tying wool, and then we would trompe wool. We used to have the upright burlap tube bags, and they'd put the wool in there, and you'd have to trompe it in there to make it tighter. And so you'd graduate to that, and then you started shearing. And so my brother and I sheared sheep throughout college, and I continued to shear sheep then for about 25 years.
Wow, yeah.
And I taught school here in Newell for 9 years back in the 70s.
Okay.
After I graduated from college, and then I started working at Butte Electric Cooperative as a member services manager, and then in that job for 10 years. Then I became the manager of the co-op for 23 years.
Oh.
So retired in 2012. And,
except for being mayor.
except for being mayor, yeah. And all the other things we do.
Yeah.
My wife and I have been extremely active in both the Historical Society, the Butte County Historical Society, which is a county-wide organization, but it's more regional really than just county. And we have done for 50 years in the Historical Society caravan tours. And so what we would do is do a 1-day tour every other year, and then a 2-day tour. And my wife and I have been the organizers and so on of those tours.
Where would the tours be then?
30-some years. Well, like 1-day tours, we would go to some place fairly close that we could do in a 1-day event. You know, we'd start at 8 o'clock in the morning and be done by 5 o'clock in the afternoon. And we visited a lot of the little places that are close. For example, I'll give you one tour. We went to Fairpoint and talked about the town, the store, the people that lived there, so on. We went to Stoneville, which is just, I think, 12 miles east of Fairpoint, and Stoneville had a school, high school at one time.
Okay.
And my mother-in-law had gone to school there, and so we knew a little about it. And there was coal mines there, and people would come in and buy coal. They'd mine underground coal there, and just tell people about that. Then we went south to Red Owl, I think.
Yeah,
and then,
I know where that is.
Then down into Bear Butte Valley and kind of back around. Bear Butte was a little community. They had a church and a store and a couple of businesses. Just things like that we would do locally. A lot of that whole history kind of shaped what happened in this whole area
Yes.
too, because we were a little bit exempt from the mining influence right here, because we had people that came here to work in the mines, but they homesteaded out here in the valleys and
Oh, that's interesting.
raised food, so
Yeah.
it was, yeah, it's kind of shaped who we are. We're an agrarian group
Yeah.
in here, I guess, and our whole thought process seems to be revolved around agriculture.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, so we have a big sheep industry here still. I know when I was growing up, it was much larger than what it is now, but we still have a quite a large sheep industry here in the area, correct?
Yes, we used to call ourselves the sheep capital of the nation.
Absolutely, yeah, yeah.
And I think we still are.
Okay.
Even though our influence in that area has declined a lot, we've had this Newell stud ram show on sale for years, and over 50 years, and it has kind of centered on providing high quality breeding stock for area ranchers. And even though the coyotes have been the problem, we have a lot more predators than we used to have, and so it's more of a challenge to raise sheep. But what we see, it's kind of cyclical, at least in my lifetime, where when the price of cattle is really high, there are fewer sheep, and when cattle prices are a little bit depressed and sheep prices really go sky high, people get back into sheep.
Yeah.
And so we're seeing a little of that right now, because sheep prices are excellent. We in this town have been fortunate, especially in the last couple, more about 10 years or so. We've got an excellent hardware store. We had a ranch supply store, and that brings people to town and helps the whole community. And so if we can provide the other goods and services that people need, it helps the town, and which helps all of us, because we can have some more opportunities than we had, and provide some jobs.
Absolutely. So you're running for mayor again, but you've been mayor several times here in our community.
Well, it's one of those where when I told my wife I was going to run here 3 years ago, she said, "I think you're crazy," but I understand why. It's somewhat of a stressful job.
Yeah.
Because you can't please everybody all of the time.
That's right.
And sometimes it seems like you can't please anybody any of the time, but there is a happy balance there, and I guess the reason that I decided to run again is that I love this town.
Yes.
It has been my life. The entire Vale Newell community, Vale Newell Nistland community has been an opportunity. It's given me an opportunity to raise my family here and live here and enjoy it. And I just think that whatever I can do, I've tried to teach my children that when we are given benefits and opportunities, God is good to us.
Yes.
We need to give back to our communities.
I agree with you.
And so I think that that probably drives me to do this job. Even though I'm retired, it would be a lot easier just to take my camper and my boat and go have fun, But yeah, I think the low crime rate in this area has even in all of western South Dakota, has really been a real benefit for us. We have a family that lives between Vale and Nistland now that came from bigger cities. And I was talking to this gal recently about why they live here. And they because of the internet, are able to work. I think he works for a company in Texas, and I'm not sure what she's doing, but anyway, they want to raise their family in an environment like we have here, where you can go to church, you can go to activities in the evenings, and you don't worry about your kids being kidnapped or
Yeah.
all that business, and you don't worry about muggers and
Yeah.
murders and all of the other things. You know, even Rapid City is starting to see
Yes.
a real increase in crime, and
Yeah.
I just hope that we stay immune from that.
Yeah, we all do. Well, Mayor, let me ask you, in relationship to serving the community as mayor now and the previous years that you served as mayor, what do you think some of the difference has been this time in comparison to last time? Because, you know, our culture is evolving around us.
Yeah, I think our town has changed, and part of it is that our housing is not what we need in this community. We have a desperate need for improved housing. For example, we have school teachers that interview here wanting to come work at our Newell school, but can't find housing in Newell to live here. And so, you know, part of the emphasis that I've had the last term, and what we will continue to do, we're in the process right now of getting rid of some of these old abandoned houses that should be torn down and moved off, and so we can get housing, better housing on those lots and provide places for families to live.
Yeah, that would be. Do you think our infrastructure here in Newell supports a lot of growth and change, or do we need to kind of concentrate on our infrastructure along with the housing?
Well, our sewer and water system are adequate. You know, the electrical needs are taken care of. So, you know, the infrastructure is there.
Is there? Okay.
We just need, the challenge is available lots in the town that are suitable for housing.
Where do you see our community heading in the next 3 to 5 years, especially with the different administration now in Washington?
I don't see a lot of change coming for us
Okay.
as a community. Individuals, you know, we may see more people looking to get out of the big cities. You know, the riots and so on in the big cities this last year or so have not been a good thing for people living in big cities, and they want to get away from that crime and so on.
Yes.
I think the uptick in sheep prices right now are going to be good for our communities.
Yes.
Because more people will be able to afford to be ranchers.
Yeah. If you had an opportunity to give a word of advice to the young people coming up, the next generation, coming up here in Newell, just exactly what would you advise them?
We need to have young people step up into the leadership positions.
Yes.
And encourage them to do their part in making our communities better. You know, I've been associated with the Lions Club for many years, 30 years about, and I've had the opportunity to serve as, you know, our club president, active in our Newell Lions Club, which is the second largest club in our district, which is the western 2/3 of South Dakota.
Wow.
I've also had the opportunity then to serve as the district governor of that district, and then the following year I was the council chair, which is the chair of the Council of Governors from North Dakota, South Dakota, and Saskatchewan. And so I've had a chance to deal with those entities and those people, and the biggest problem I see is that the people that are really doing a lot of things are my age or older, and as we get to where we can't do that, somebody needs to step up, and you know, I've always worried about that, but in my career we used to have an annual meeting, and it was all old people that came, basically. But over my 33-year career, we still had old people coming to the meeting. So the younger people, as they got retired or more, their kids got out of the house or whatever, had more time, they did step up. And so, you know, hopefully we're instilling the values in our young people that they will do the things that they need to do.
How do you think that we could step up to the plate as a church and be more of a blessing to our community? Is there any advice you'd like to give us today that would help us along?
Well, you know, I've often thought, I think we have a lot of churches for the population that we've got. If they had as many churches per capita in, say, Rapid City or Sturgis, you wouldn't be able to get up the road, hardly, because of all of the churches there. And so we're fortunate that way, because, you know, people that go to church are less likely to commit crimes.
True.
And so that's been a big benefit of our community, and that our kids then are raised in that environment, and that's a good thing. So
yeah,
I'm not sure how the churches could work together, but we need to have that leadership from that Christian background in the community for these people to rely on. You know, go back to the Lions Club again. You know, we've been somewhat famous for our pancake suppers.
yes,
You know, if somebody's house burns down, or they have a car wreck, or they get cancer or something, we have a benefit supper for them.
Yes, you do.
And we raised, you know, $2,000-3,000 for a family that needs the help. And people are really good about coming and donating and open their billfolds and their purses and support the people that need help. And that's a good thing in a community when we can come together and help somebody that needs help. Because,
yes, it is.
you know, things happen, and you know, life gets in the way of a perfect society. And so if we can help people, that's what we should be doing, I think.
I agree with you. Well, it's been wonderful having you here with us today, and I'm just going to open it up if there's anything that you'd like to share before we close this out.
Yeah, I want to talk a little bit about the city. We've got a real challenge coming to us in the next 20 years.
Okay.
A few years ago, I'm not sure exactly, I can't recall the date, but a person filed an Americans with Disabilities Act violation against the city. I was not the mayor at the time, but when that happens, the feds then do an investigation and determine that our sidewalks in Newell are not up to ADA standards. Now, that's not surprising, because since this has come up and I've been dealing with this, I've gone to other towns and I look at the sidewalks and nobody has sidewalks that are up to ADA standards. But because we had the violation, we had to go through a process, and I had to spend $18,000 for an engineering study to tell us what our plan is to bring our city sidewalks up to ADA standards. We, at our most recent meeting, got the engineering plan that details what we're going to do. The cost is staggering.
I bet.
And so, just in round numbers, you know, it looks like on Main Street, to improve the sidewalks and bring them all up to standards, it could cost up to $60,000 or $70,000 per block, and because those sidewalks are so wide,
yes,
and you got both sides of the street, you know, to deal with. But if there's a crack in the sidewalk and it's like even a ½ inch of a raise, it's a tripping hazard, and so that doesn't meet the standard. Well, we live in Gumbo.
I was going to say that.
And our sidewalks jump all over, whether we like it or not, along with our basements and
yes,
you know, foundations and so on. So, you know, that's going to be a real challenge for us. And we've tried to break it down into segments where we have the Main Street area, then 3rd Street, and the areas around the churches. Those are the first 3 priorities. And then lastly would be other residential areas. But just those the first 3 priorities are going to be a real challenge for us financially. And I don't know, I don't have a plan yet in how we're going to address all that. I think the people that I've talked to with the federal government are somewhat understanding and are going to give us some leeway, but we have to show some progress. So we're going to have to be dealing with that. And you know, the easiest out for the city would be to say, okay, landowner, you're responsible for the sidewalk. I don't think that is probably the right approach either. So I don't know how we're going to get it accomplished yet, but that's the challenge that we are going to have to meet.
Okay. Are there grants available? You know, sometimes they'll match what you come up with.
Yeah, we're just starting that.
Just starting it.
To
Okay.
Look into those right now. You know, there may be some federal government help too, like the Rural Development Act and some of those things.
Yeah.
Might help us, but that's going to be a big problem for us over.
Yeah.
Well beyond my lifetime, no doubt. You know, the next step will be public input. We will advertise that, and we publish the findings of the engineering study, and then ask people for their comments and see where we go from there. It's not going to be an easy task, no matter what we do. I know. So.
Yeah. Well, thank you for sharing that with us, and we definitely will be a part of that planning process. I would love to be a part of that.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. So, well, thank you for being with us today. I think I've really enjoyed it. Would you come back again and visit us sometime?
I would. Yes, I love it.
All righty.
This whole community, you know, has been my lifeblood for years and years, and we're happy to live here.
Well, God bless you.